And welcome back, weirdos! This is episode 9 of the Weird Austin podcast. Today is more of a mellow one-on-one. We have a gentleman that I've met, I'd say within the last 3 months, maybe 4, but he's blown my mind with the commitment that he displayed on the things that he wants to do. Without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Cory Jones.
Hi, what's going on, y'all? I am Punk Bordello, A.K.A. Dello, A.K.A. Cory Jones.
All right. What genre music would you say you create?
Now, see, that is the toughest question because, like, a lot of times, to put it into perspective, like, I grew up listening to punk music. I grew up listening to like rock and, primarily just like, loud guitar solos, loud guitars in general. And what I tried to make is kind of like a combination of everything that I enjoy that I hear, so I like to rap, and it was really more of like a skill that I had to like hone in and develop as opposed to like, as opposed to like something that that just came naturally to me. Like I can improvise a vocal melody a lot better than I can improvise like a bar.
Okay.
So it's if when you break it down, it's a combination of rap, rock, and in a tasteful way because I really don't fuck with Limp Bizkit at all.
Right. Would you say maybe like more Blink-182 or 21 Pilots?
No, not even that.
Really?
Because I like pop punk was something that like a lot of people would be like, "Oh, your voice is like Green Day," and I always resented that, even though I love Green Day.
Yeah.
So really, truthfully, like what I would want to see my music be a representation of is just like maybe a little bit of that, but really more so just a tasteful new like original kind of hybrid between rock, rap, and R&B.
Okay. Do you have any name coined for something like that?
Originally, the direction that I was heading towards with my first album that just totally didn't work out was space rock.
Okay.
And like it like I said, it didn't work out. And it's not like it caught on or anything like that. Otherwise, I probably wouldn't be sitting right here.
Right.
But yeah, no. At this point, I just prefer to call it like new age rock.
Gotcha.
Because I feel like, there's so many different like sounds and directions that have been played to their fullest extent and capitalized on and just like, commercialized, and they've become commodities, you know what I mean? Like
right.
Led Zeppelin is probably the oldest and biggest representation of that. Like it's great music, but it's not necessarily, it's not new, it's not hip, it's like it's dad rock.
What would you say makes music hip? And how would hip change from generation to generation?
Well, it all depends on the originality of the piece. I mean, that's why I feel like XX. I still don't know how to say that name.
XX Tentacion. Yeah.
Tentacion. Yeah. There you go. His stuff was like an indie hybrid of like kind of like if Death Grips met the Lumineers, I guess. Like
holy shit, okay.
Yeah, right. That's the way that I kind of interpreted it, like from hearing it for the first time, like right before he died.
Right. He definitely had a unique style.
And it's like at first I was just like, nah, throw that shit out the window. But if you look at how so many people interpret that and, absorb that into their everyday life, and, he is by all means the new legend just simply because he came up with something that nobody else was doing. And that is what makes the voice of a generation. That's why Kurt Cobain was the face of grunge. Pearl Jam came out with the album 10 before maybe around the same time as Nirvana came out with Nevermind, but it was like it's just Nirvana was the poster child for grunge simply because they just fit that aesthetic better. And Pearl Jam just kind of had they had their own unique kind of way of doing things, but we remember Nirvana more.
Right.
You know, we still remember Pearl Jam, but you know, if you ask people, if you ask somebody who doesn't know anything about rock, you know, who's Nirvana, they'll tell you that Nirvana was, you know, a band from the 90s, the early 90s. You know, biggest band of the 90s.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
Whereas Pearl Jam, you know, probably falls somewhere around like third or fourth. You know? But it is what it is.
How many instruments do you play?
That's a loaded question actually, because if you define it differently, you can define that any number of different ways.
No, I got you.
Because
I know what you're getting at.
In terms of like what do I feel most comfortable going out and playing in front of if you gave me Madison Square Garden tomorrow, sold out, and I had to go up there and choose an instrument to play an entire repertoire,
right,
I would most definitely choose guitar.
Okay.
Absolutely. But I mean, in terms of like impact and presence, I would most definitely say that, you know, of vocals, I would much rather just be able to move around and be able to, you know, engage the audience a lot better. But if we're talking about studio, it would still fall down. Like I play guitar, drums, bass, piano, and I sing. Yeah, I can play ukulele too. I'm not well versed in the theory of it. But like when it comes down to what do I can play mostly everything in a studio setting, but the fact of the matter is that when you're doing everything by yourself, you have to retrain yourself each and every one of those individual parts. So when I'm about to go up on stage and you know, when I'm prepping for you know, shows, like what am I going to choose? I'm going to choose guitar, and then I'm going to choose, you know, I'm going to definitely like you know, choose songs that are going to fit the performance I want to give.
Okay.
You know, so my most proficient instrument, guitar and vocals.
Gotcha.
But what do I play? Guitar, drums, bass, piano, and I sing. You know.
Okay. How long have you played the guitar?
I started when I was 6.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. And you are now?
I am 22 now.
Okay.
I'm about to be 23 in August.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So, about 16 years, I think. Yeah, 16 years.
Wow.
Yeah. But it's a funny story. My uncle, he was in bands in college, and he you know, he like had an entire basement with like a drum kit in it and like a whole bunch of amps and stuff, and I came down there and I thought it was the coolest thing in the world. You know what I mean? Like I couldn't get enough of this stuff.
Right.
And so, you know, he would like, you know, sit me down with a guitar and he'd like show me how to do pick slides. He thought it was just a passing interest. And so he's like, well, you know, if you learn all the major chords, I'll give you $10 towards a new guitar for every chord that you learn.
Wow.
And I bought a new guitar with that.
Nice. All right.
Yeah, he didn't expect that.
Wow.
Yeah. So
you're committed then.
Oh yeah, I always have been, because it's just it's not even necessarily that it's like I see this and I'm like, that's the only thing I can do. It's the only thing I want to do. You know? I mean, I go out and I work jobs just because I have to. Because
Right.
I have to survive. But at the end of the day, what do I come back to? What do I focus all my efforts on? It's this. You know?
Awesome. So speaking of this, what is your next project?
My next project is going to be called Spectacle. And just baseline starting from the music. It is it didn't start out as like a concept album by any means, but at this point it's developed its own concept, and I'm developing ideas to make kind of like a cinematic picture out of it.
Okay.
So that it tells a story, and so that story gives a purpose to what I'm doing here, so it can actually translate into the world, so that people can look at it and kind of reflect back on how they can use it to make them a better person.
Okay, but in one word, what would be like the tone or the feeling you want the audience to take away from it?
Ooh, one sec. Honest.
Okay, got it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I could see it.
No.
So I know more about the project, obviously.
Yeah.
They don't. If you were to give them your elevator pitch, what exactly would you say?
Okay. So if I were to give them the elevator pitch, it would start out with a understanding of the world and current events as we see it today. That's a very necessary thing to understanding the whole purpose behind this album. Every time I look out into the world and see every single one of my peers, we're all struggling. We're struggling more than the previous generations before us.
Mm-hmm.
And I see a problem with that. But there's also a solution within it. And with this project, I'm trying to find the solution to it. And as it goes down, as we go down the list of the track list, I am essentially just breaking down my thought process while trying to do all this. What I'm thinking about, what we could do, what's wrong with the world in general. I'm just kind of laying it all out and singing it as I feel it, and that's kind of the entire feel for the album.
Okay. What about the project inspires you most?
That's a good question. I'd say the thing that inspires me most about it is just the fact that it's something that's like real and tangible and intelligible. It's something that I feel like you could sing on your way, to work, but you could also kind of just be in a mood to introspect and just be like, what the fuck is wrong with the world, and just, it's a place for it. Listening to this album is a place for you to think about it. And it's like relatable to a bunch of different situations. Like the song that is eponymous to the album, Spectacle,
Mm-hmm.
is it's basically me understanding that that I'm essentially like I have feelings for this person, and I know that they're not thinking of me. I know that they're not falling asleep like with my face in their head, but I'm hoping for it. I'm wishing that was I'm wishing that was I'm wishing that I was the precipice of their imagination.
Yeah, no, I like that. Because it's not worse to be hated; it's worse to have indifference towards you, to not exist.
It's not even necessarily that, but it's worse to just know in your heart that they don't have the same reaction that you would want them to have,
right,
or that you have of them.
Yeah.
That it's like it's unrequited, but unrequited on another level.
Okay, yeah. Which song? Actually, first off, how many songs are on the track list?
16.
16. That's ambitious. If you were to describe the flow of it, if through those 16, how would you kind of like break that down?
Well, I try not to make changes that are too abrupt, because I like the idea of an album being like kind of like you could let it play and you could have it on repeat and you could just keep going, cycling through it.
Gotcha. Yeah.
Like it's an hour and some minutes worth of content. So I mean, when I'm producing it, you know, and like when you produce your own album, you have to listen to it religiously just so that you understand. Like, because if you can't bump your shit, nobody else is gonna be able to.
No,
You know what I
agree.
mean? And like,
I've been caught bumping my own shit, man.
yeah. I mean, it's just I don't know. Like, I just don't want people to see me while I'm doing that. Because it's just like singing in the shower to my own shit.
No, at Walgreens, I had one ear bone, and I was just like kind of going over one, you know, and I was just really feeling it. This guy's like, "Who you listen to?" And I'm like, "Me."
There's been a couple of times where I have like, case in point, I've been I was walking home and the buses had stopped running, so I had to walk home. It was about like an hour-long walk back from work.
Jeez.
And you know, so I'm walking and I'm singing. Thanks, man. I'm walking and I'm singing, and I just figured, you know, the way that I rationalized it to myself was like, if anybody asks, I'm practicing. I have a show coming up.
Dude, I love it. Dude, that's awesome. I like people who enjoy their own stuff, man, because you know, you hear like Johnny Depp never watches his movies.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, he says like his kids will be like, "Oh, you got to watch this. You're so good in it." And he said something along the lines of, "My job is over, and your job is to enjoy it." You know, so I don't want to, but I feel like it's also it's got to be some sort of self-conscious thing, or you know, and they say the same thing about you know, people who like who was it, Michael Bay, you know, and it's not necessarily a quote from him, but he says something like, "I got no time to read the critics when I'm working on the sequel." It's from Epic Rap Battles, but like that that's the kind of mentality that I picture, you know, like where, you know, people are going to love you, you know, people are either going to hate you or not know you. Yeah. You know, that's that 1/3 law of people are going to love you, people are going to hate you, people are not going to know you. Right. And, you know, it's not your job to turn those haters, and it's not your job to, I guess, I don't want to say turn fans, but it's to sustain your audience and grow it.
Well, actually, if I may interject for a second.
Sure, no, go for
it. I saw this interview with Kevin Smith.
Okay.
Like, and he was talking about like where his mind was at when he had first released Clerks. Yeah. And you know, so he had spent like all this time like working on this movie, and it was like his like, for him it was like the end all be all. You know, it was like, I've worked so hard on this, and you know, I mean, obviously I'm paraphrasing; those aren't direct quotes from him. Right. But you know, he had it was his first real effort to make something that could potentially make or break a career for him. Yeah. And you know, he put him like thousands of dollars in debt. You know, he borrowed a bunch of money from his parents to do it.
Sold his comic collection.
Yeah, yeah. And one thing that he said about it was that he released the movie, and it wasn't. He didn't get the response that he had wanted. Like, it released into like a select few theaters at first, and then like he went to go see it, and before it got like all this like, you know, critic praise, when he was like just about to like submit it and everything, like he was just like, dude, what if this fucking flops, man? And I think that's a very real, like, no matter what level of artist you are, that is something that we can all relate to. Anytime you're about to put something new into the world, you always get this huge feeling of like, what if this flops? Like, what if this is absolutely dreadful? And what if all of this time that I spent on this project was wasted? And honestly, like with my first album, that's exactly what happened. And I had spent about a year working on that, and like,
how old are you then?
Oh fuck!
What year is this?
It's like 2 years ago now, I want to say. Yeah.
Where were you living then?
I was living in Illinois. For everyone that doesn't know me, I am actually from Chicago, and I moved to Austin, Texas to make this album and movies accompanying it. So, you know, that's essentially a dream. But when I had released the first album, it was like I was homeless, living out of my car, and for a select amount of time, my friend Matt Morgan of the band Shout, he let me live in his basement, and he taught me how to use Pro Tools. It's just like industry standard for musicians, and truly anybody who's trying to do audio. And it came to like I would. He was working on his projects. He had bands that he was producing like albums for, and doing them in like a full-fledged studio. So he's like, oh yeah, come on down to the studio. Like I'll hook it up for you, and you'll pay me what you can, and we'll get you an album. And I was 100% down for that. But when it became apparent to me that he didn't necessarily have the time that was necessary for me to dedicate. Like I'm sitting here putting everything into this, and he can't necessarily do that because he's being paid to do other projects, and I'm not gonna fuck with that. Like,
right.
You know what I mean? I'm not gonna be like, hey, dude, But, so I just worked on the stuff and tried to like hone in on the scales, hone in. What am I trying to say? I was trying to hone in on my skills, to perfect, whatever product I was going to come up with. And, I got a couple of songs out of the way, and then we took them into the studio, and then we, workshopped them, and then got them sounding good. And I think there's a lot of songs that are on there, like Crossover and Dream Gaze, that a lot of people like, it's like, it's got its own, like, kind of, it's got its own kind of following, but where I went wrong was in the marketing of everything. I didn't, I just wanted to have something out, and I didn't care about the copyright or anything. It like all issues that have been corrected, but at this point, it's just like nobody knew about it. Nobody knows about it. I didn't really promote it. The music videos that I made for it weren't well made at all. So it was really a learning experience. And what I learned from all of that is that if you have this product that you are trying to pour your entire life into, like with this most recent album, I've been nonstop pretty much around the clock. I go to work and then I come home, I work on this, and that's it. I eat, shit, sleep, breathe this music. And, if it doesn't even sound, if there's even a slight part where I'm like, I don't know about that, then, I either go back to the drawing board and, start from scratch, or I, just try to change whatever I dislike about it.
Yeah, I know where you're getting at with that one, that itch on the top of your mind.
Yeah.
But my worry is always, how do you know that's the right call, man? Because I feel like, you in 10 years is going to criticize everything you made 20 years ago, so.
Oh, yeah, I absolutely am. I know myself better than that, so yeah. I know exactly. Like, I criticize stuff that I made 2 years ago. Right. You know what I mean?
Right.
But then again, there is also, you also have to understand what your capabilities are and respect those. You know what I mean? Like, I'm capable of doing a lot more now than I was 2 years ago. And in 10 years, I truly hope that I'll be able to do far more than I can do
Absolutely,
now.
Yeah.
That's the whole idea. That's the goal. That's the beauty of being able to, grow with an artist that you enjoy,
Yeah, that's true.
It's being able to grow with them and to watch what cool things, what cool ideas they have to bring to the table, and just watch them progress. So,
how many albums have you actually made so far?
Well, not counting the one I'm about to release, just one.
Okay, but how many songs though? I know you said you made a lot. So is the other stuff just like...
The other stuff, I believe it was 12 songs. I want to say, 12 songs. And a lot of that stuff, like, I had just done on my phone, and that's just like, I mean, there's, let's see, there's Sun Shining, which was the first track, and that was me just kind of like throwing a freestyle. Like it was like a freestyle that I had workshopped.
Yeah.
Going back to a conversation
Yeah.
we had earlier, but that was just like a freestyle that I had workshopped, and I'm just like, yo, a rap song with a guitar solo, let's do it. So I did it, and I mean, it was just kind of like thrown together, but it was like I still enjoy it. I just wish my voice wasn't as whiny. The second song, I actually went all the way into the studios, like at the University of St. Francis, which is where Matt was going to school at the time, and we went through the trouble of miking up the entire drum kit, and like setting everything up, and took hours. This is why we didn't do it with the rest of the album. But yeah, so I live tracked the drums. I threw all that stuff, and a lot of by the time I got to the end of producing that song, it was a lot less of Matt and a lot more of me doing it. So everything like that when I say this album was a learning experience, it was also a learning experience for production, and but everything is 110% authentic on that. Good. And I spent hours doing that one song because I believed in it, and then there's Dream Gaze, which was, I started that one at home in Matt's basement, and then I came to him and was like, yo, check this out, what does this need? Because it did feel like it was me missing something. And we were listening to Radiohead pretty heavily. And he was like, you know what this needs? Some computerized Beelp-Bloops.
Computerized Beelp-Bloops.
And I still use that term to this day. I just think it's so funny. Well, one of the things that I love about Radiohead is Tom York's artistry. There's this one song, I can't remember off the top of my head what it is, but I believe he wrote it about his divorce, and the sequence of words, the sequence of notes in it spells out DEAD. Very dark, but also just like brilliant, freaking genius.
Yeah,
man.
Layered and interesting.
Yeah. Huh. And then there's Crossover, which was, I wrote that, I was living out of my car. My girlfriend had just left me at the time.
Jeez.
And yeah, I was trying to come down to Austin, and we were supposed to like move down to Austin, and she, I guess things just got too real for her. So, she was like, I can't do this. And my flight was supposed to leave the next day. So I'd been sleeping on the floor of the restaurant that I worked at, to make this a reality, so that I could save up the money to, show to her parents that like, yo, I'm not, I'm about this, but it was an admirable effort is what it was, but that was all it was ever going to be. But no, I was homeless with 2 jobs, living out of my car, and at night I would, whenever I wasn't, I stopped sleeping in the restaurant because I was just like a headache. I had to be like away from all the cameras and stuff. So there were points where I would sleep underneath a table just to do it. And I'm like, what the hell am I doing? I don't know. But yeah, so I remember the exact day. Like I was so torn up about everything, and I had found out like some even more bad news, and I was just like, when is this gonna end? Like, when is this this storm? Like it basically, like, I get really bad anxiety, and especially when I was living out of my car, the anxiety was like through the roof, because it's like, I know where I'm gonna sleep. Yeah. In my car. I know where I'm going to shower at the gym. You know what I mean? I just don't know where to go from here. And so it was like a torrential downpour of this storm that was in my mind, and it was constantly like nagging at me. Like, what are you going to do about it? So like, music has always been my outlet. So I wrote that song specifically about what it feels like to be crushed by your anxiety, and to just not know where you're going, to just want everything to stop, like sensory overload, you know? And yeah, it's absolutely by far one of my personal, is like one of my little, brain children.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad to see you have at least a little bit more stability.
Oh yeah, absolutely. At this point,
Dude. Okay, so I'm sure you learned plenty from that, but creation wise, and be with the way that you're actually going to make this new album, what have you learned from the past, as well as what would you say to a younger you or someone who's starting out?
What I would say to a younger me, we'll start with that, is to live in the moment more.
Yeah.
To be 100% honest with you, because the reason, and like, I mean, the reason why I'm here now in Austin is because, I was 18, and then I just graduated high school, and, flipped the middle finger to my high school because I hated that place. And, it felt like the next time that I opened my eyes, I was 22 and I hadn't done anything with my life. So, I mean, what do you do with that? Like, I know a lot of people in that same situation, and the only possible, for me, the only possible question that I could ask myself is, well, if it was all taken away tomorrow, what would you want to be working towards?
Yeah.
Or what would you want to be basically on your way to, or what would you want to have already done? If you get hit by a car and you're laying there, you're like, your last thoughts are, I haven't done shit with my life.
Right.
How depressing is that?
Right. No. Yeah. I always say, what do you want to be remembered for?
Yeah.
And your legacy is in those whom you affected.
Yeah. And for
the memory of those whom you affected.
For me, it's like it's about, basically sticking it to the man. And for
you have stick it to the man-itis?
I do have stick it to the man-itis, man. I absolutely do. But the flip side to that is just, for me, it was as simple as, what does every musician want to do, with his life? Make a fucking record, man.
Right. Yeah.
And so that was my answer, and that's exactly what I did. Pass or fail, whether it succeeded or didn't, like, I still made a record.
Right.
And now I get a chance to perfect that and right all the wrongs that I made with the first album and make a better product. And I can't, like, I mean, it at this point, and this is like exactly the way that Kevin Smith felt, is like, I'm doing this for me. I'm doing this because I want to, and I'm doing this because I'm passionate about it. Because I think, like, because a lot of people, it's not necessarily to combat the people that hated me for it, but I'm in debt to the people that made me. I'm in debt to the people that believed in me, that told me, yeah, you can, or you have a gift. I remember there's this one time when I was my mom was like a highly questionable parent. She, is crazy. As all hell. But one thing that she did when we had just come back from living in Colombia, and I still wasn't in school yet, and I think I had to get my guitar fixed. So she dropped me off at Guitar Center and left me there all day, which is not uncommon for her. She would straight up just, like, drop me off somewhere and then go AWOL. She didn't pick me up until Guitar Center closed. But, so I was just like, at first I was waiting for my guitar to get, finished being repaired. And then, afterwards I was just kind of like, noodling around and playing around on all the instruments. Mm-hmm. This guy comes up to me. He's got his, what looks like, she's got to be an infant, maybe can't be older than 2. He's holding her in his hands, and he walks up to me, and he's just like, yo, how old are you, man? And I'm like, 12, 13, whatever. And he's like, it was the first time that somebody had ever said this to me. And he said, don't ever stop. You were given a gift. Like, you need to share that with the world. And because my mom had always, like, crushed my dreams, like, don't get me wrong, like, she would, like, she would be telling stories for hours on end, and nobody wanted to pay attention to it because it was all conspiracy theory. Like, I told you, she was crazy. But, like, whenever I would, like, whenever my attention span could not take it and I would just, like, look away or something, she would threaten to smash my guitar, or she would smash my guitar.
She would make you watch conspiracy theories?
Well, not only would she make me watch them, she would, like, beat me if there wasn't, like, if I didn't get something right about it. Or...
Jesus.
Yeah, like, her favorite was the Bible, you know?
Okay.
She would handcuff me to the bed, and if I didn't pass her quizzes or whatever she gave to me, she would, she'd get the belt out, or she'd lock me in a room, or she'd,
Jeez, man.
Yeah, no,
what were the tests about the Bible?
Huh?
What would you be tested on?
Just, oh my God.
Like on scripture, or like on how they're lying to you or something?
Oh, no, scripture itself.
Okay, so she believed in the Bible.
She believed in the Bible, but she was one of those people that interpreted it in the ways that benefited her.
Okay.
You know?
Gotcha.
And because she was so sick in the head, she can't identify the mental gymnastics that she's doing, even if it's presented in front of her. You know? And that's like, it's a really hard thing to grow up with, because, you know, at some point you become wise to the fact that what you're going through isn't normal, you know? But when somebody has drilled into your head that anywhere else that you could possibly go to is a more hostile environment, the unknown becomes way more scary than, you know, like, what you're dealing with. So you just learn to cope, and you just like dream about your 18th birthday.
That sounds like The Act, bro.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
no.
Jesus.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad you're here and you survived that.
No.
I was actually going to ask you if you believed in any conspiracy theories.
Oh, yeah.
Did any actually?
That's the thing that screws with me.
Yeah.
After, like, okay, so, you know, after I turned, let's see, after I was, you know, child services placed me with my dad when I was 14. And, you know, from there, I've kind of had to piece together what I believe reality is. And don't get me wrong, it's not like I've really just had to try and understand what seems the most real and how does it seem the most real. What is the most logical, you know, view to have of the world. And the fact of the matter is just that it's not necessarily like crazy for a lot of those conspiracy theories to exist. Like, for instance, like, I do not believe that we are alone in the universe. Like,
for sure,
aliens are absolutely real.
Right.
It has to be. For
sure.
You know what I mean? Where it comes into play is, like, what has their relationship been with us in, you know, thousands of years.
Right.
There was just, one thing that screwed with me the other day is that the Washington Post, I believe, just posted that Navy pilots saw, like, straight up UFOs just hanging out. Navy pilots.
Yeah.
Would Navy pilots lie? I don't know. You're the expert.
Yeah, everyone that I met seemed pretty genuine. I've asked them before directly. I don't recall ever getting a straight answer.
See, that's what fucking scares me, man.
Yeah, and actually, a good shout out to we have a military secrets episode. I believe it's Weird Austin 6, and if I didn't tell it then, I hope I'm at least not retelling it now. But yeah, I had a gentleman who apparently was a part of that kind of secret intelligence stuff, and his buddy next to him looked up Roswell and just found these papers that everything was mostly redacted and blacked out.
Oh,
and a few minutes later, there was just a hand on his shoulder, and the guy was pulled out of the room. Apparently, to quote the gentleman who watched it happen, they didn't see him for quite a while, and then he finally came back and I guess had all his stuff revoked for a while.
Jesus.
Yeah. So he didn't find anything. It was literally like blank, blank, blank out of the craft, blank, 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 blank. Like, I mean, just nothing
Wow.
tangible to go off of, and they still reprimanded the man. Yeah.
Wow. Well,
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
do I understand it? Yes, absolutely. Because when you join the military, you sign away your rights.
Right.
But does that like that absolutely terrifies the shit out of me?
I wouldn't say you sign away all of your rights, just a lot of your conveniences and choices. That your choices are much more limited. You still have rights. You can still do things, but there are a lot more repercussions.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, military law is militant.
Yeah. Yes, it is. Yeah, the United States Code of Military Justice is quite interesting if you ever thumb through it.
Yeah. Yeah. No. I mean, I originally I had tried to join the Navy myself.
Yeah.
And I ended up not being able to go in just for medical reasons. But I mean, at the end of the day, am I glad that I didn't that I didn't do that? Possibly. I really can't say, because I was never afforded that opportunity. I have no idea what it would be like. I'm always gonna have that looming kind of sense of regret that I was never able to, get into the Navy, or specifically the Navy, but even the Army after I tried them.
Yeah, man. Well, everything that's happened now made you who you are.
No.
I feel like you definitely have a good path right now.
No.
It's given you eye-opening experiences, I'm sure, that not many people can claim to have had.
Yeah.
So, I mean, what does Bradley Cooper say? Once your music stops meaning something to them, or once you stop being true.
Is that from that
from
Lady Gaga movie?
It's something like that, but I'm not gonna lie. That line was a nugget in that movie. It's a good movie if you haven't seen it.
I haven't actually. But I definitely should.
But yeah, it's something like once you stop being honest, the audience realizes it.
Yeah, that was like in a trailer or something.
Yeah. And I mean, it makes sense. I'm sure there's a market for having smoke blown up your ass, but it's probably a smaller market than honesty and, having someone listen to you and have some sort of self-realization.
Right. Yeah. And I feel like those moments are what truly draw you to an artist.
Mm-hmm.
It's one of two things, really, in my personal experience. There's either a lyric that stands out to me that's like, whoa, that's deep, or whoa, that relates to my situation exactly. Or there is as a musician, there's just a musical kind of ambiance that just makes the hair stand up on your on your arms.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I don't know. For me, I don't think I could ever stop being honest in my music, because it's what I value most about my music.
You like being personal with your audience.
Yeah. And I mean, don't get me wrong, there's a certain level of crypticism that I like as well, but my story is very specific, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I get I've been through a lot of things that people have also been through, but I've also been through a lot of things that most people have never been through or have never seen.
Well, that's interesting, because the experience of hardship is either you can get through it because I did it.
Yeah.
Or B, a cautionary tale, this could happen if you don't blank. Or, C, honestly, the most maybe common would be oh my goodness, that happened to you. I feel so good about myself now, And really though, that's really it. And with your music, you can either have music that's going to be at a club that's going to make people kind of, it takes over the room, or your background music where your accompaniment. And I feel like with the music that you're making, it's the kind of put the headphones on and have the intimate conversation with, one-on-one with that artist.
Yeah.
And I think that it's just so interesting and I think that's why a lot of people don't like, a lot of, I guess, what does that mean? When people say they don't like pop music or radio music, it's I don't like music that people listen to in a group. I like to be by myself and listen to music.
Well,
if you think about it, honestly, right?
I don't know. When it comes to pop music, I think the fact of the matter is just that it gets so viciously overplayed.
Yes.
You turn on a radio station and it's like the same. Like we're in 2019 and there's millions of songs. Like an entire like database full of like Spotify has almost everything.
Yeah.
Except acid rap. Should change that. I mean. Don't get me wrong. I mean, I love Coloring Book as much as the next guy, but how much does the next guy really love Coloring Book?
Over the heads of a few people, I'm sure.
Oh yeah, that's a chance. Chance the Rapper album. Don't get me wrong. I mean, Chance is my guy. You know what I mean? Like, it's my city, man. I'm wearing a Chicago hat right now, but like.
I was gonna pun it up and say there might have been a chance a few people missed that.
I will say that there is this song off of Coloring Book called "Finish Line / Drown."
Yep.
It's like it's one of the Drown is like a hidden song.
Right.
But both of those two together in their own kind of like uninterrupted bliss is just so amazing. I truly I believe he got the Chicago choir. Or he's some choir from Chicago. I'm not even gonna pretend to know, but it's like authentic and it's like it's a whole just orchestra of voices, man. It's like it's truly beautiful and it's my warm up song every time I play the drums because the beat is just dude, it slaps so much. Huh. Give me the water, need to cover spaceship. Like, dude, I love that song so much, man. So like, but as for the rest of Coloring Book.
Ooh.
I know some hardcore Chance fans gonna give me some shit.
Yeah, we'll catch a couple of comments on that one, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Man, no, yeah, I love Chance, man. It's so interesting that Gambino obviously had like some sort of I don't want to say issue, but like he noticed whenever Chance's fans kind of went up in popularity there for a while, and I think he even had like a freestyle. Might have been Westwood, could have been Sway, but it was like we have the same fans, and he seemed a little like I don't want to say type of way about it, but it's interesting now that like I haven't really seen a lot of Chance, and now Gambino is everywhere, man. I mean, just Disney, and he's making music, and he's got his show, and I mean his show's fantastic.
Oh yeah.
I was pretty sad that he left Community after a while, but I understand why he did, and that was just me as a fan wanting more of something that had already gone on so long.
To be 100% honest with you, man, like I would love to see more of his stand-up. Sorry to interrupt you.
No, I agree.
Yeah,
I agree.
I just had to get that out. Man.
The Home Depot one is fantastic.
Oh my god!
Just like Lil Wayne being a nerd.
Oh my god!
Because he makes a Gremlins reference.
Yeah. Oh my
yeah,
god.
dude, I feel it. Yeah, 100%.
And his what is it? His cousin just like takes an actual shit.
Oh yeah. Jeez, man.
Oh my god, that's
Steve-O did that, didn't he? Steve-O
I think so. Yeah, he did. Yeah, he did that. Was it Jackass 2 or Jackass? I think was it the original?
I want to say it was the original. It seems like an original joke.
Yeah.
It seems like a classic that.
God, dude, I love. Oh my god, that shit just makes me cry.
Oh man.
Oh my god. But yeah, no. I do have to say that I'm absolutely enamored with Gambino's with his music for one thing. 3005 was what sold me originally, and don't get me wrong, Sweatpants is a bop, but it's like kind of braggadocious. It's not necessarily.
3005 was his biggest radio play, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, well, it makes sense because I don't think there's any cussing in it. So do they lean towards that? Do they lean towards that now? I don't know because
I remember in mid 2000s having just sound effects and or silence on the radio whenever
exactly.
four phrases would be.
you hear articles like the and and
exactly.
And, duh.
It turns into conjunction junction.
Oh my god! You know what's funny is that the FCC doesn't have any regulation on whether news has to be factual or not.
What?
Yeah.
Oh man, I know like retractions is a big thing and you're supposed to do it, but a lot of people, I don't say a lot, but there are outlets out there that just don't care.
Yeah.
In the same way of don't have time to read the critics working on the sequel.
Right,
They're
yeah.
doing the same thing.
They're like, we
It's
don't
just
care.
irresponsible.
Somebody told me this somewhere. I'm gonna post it.
Exactly,
Yeah.
dude. It's like that kid in your playground. It's like, yo, Julie got a new haircut.
Yeah.
She dyed it.
Yeah. Oh my god, it's absolutely that.
You're like, go away. You know who that? It reminds me of the snitch from Recess.
Oh my god, it's been so long since I've seen
Starts with an R. It's like Reynolds or something. Yeah, but anyway, that's who that reminds me of, man. Shout out to TJ Detweiler, man. That was my show back in the day.
Oh yeah.
Recess. Yeah.
I mean, like
One Saturday morning.
I remember like playing the like online games.
What?
Yeah, they had
don't
like
think
they
I
had
saw
like
that.
like on DisneyChannel.com.
I played all the like Ed Netty
Oh yeah.
Battle Royale.
I you know what game I really loved? I really loved Teen Titans, like the one where it's like
Yes.
Street Fighter but with
Yeah.
Teen Titans. That
Yeah.
was great.
That was
dude.
dope.
That was awesome.
Dude, I went out of my way to actually buy the breakfast cereal to get the hidden episode.
There's a hidden episode, really?
I'm pretty sure it's out there now. But yeah, you got like a web URL or something, and you get to watch it. And it was dope because you had your full bowl of cereal and you got to eat this see this hidden episode.
That's tight, man.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to check that out at some point.
I'm sure you'll find it. I'm sure somebody's got it on YouTube right now, man.
Yeah. At this point, it's like inevitable.
Yeah,
But
definitely. So you know me, man. I love cartoons. We've talked about a lot of music, but what media did you grow up with watching? You know, what movies and what cartoons?
well, Pulp Fiction is 100% always gonna be like it's gonna be my go-to. It's like for me, it's like the holy grail because I love non-linear movies.
Okay.
And don't get me wrong, I'm not too keen on Memento, but
I still haven't seen Memento. And by the way, Gambino has a wonderful joke about Memento.
oh yeah, no, that bops, dude. Friggin' no, but so like I'm a huge fan of non-linear movies, and I just feel like there's a lot of artistry to be able to connect those plot points in a way that either you can understand the first time or even so like it's difficult the first time and you have to go back and rewatch
Rewarding
it.
rewatches. Yep.
Yes,
Gotcha.
exactly. But like I mean, who's Zed? Zed's dead. Like that's just iconic. Like I feel like it if it didn't make the careers of Samuel Jackson and John Travolta. Well, I mean John Travolta had Grease, but
He came back, right? That was his comeback?
yeah, I believe so.
Okay.
Yeah. But
Oh, and Phil Lamar, man. Phil Lamar was the guy in the back seat.
yeah. Oh my god.
Shout out Green Lantern. Dude, and Hermes Conrad, man. He does so many voices. Sorry.
Oh, yeah. You know what I love about Deadpool is the fact that Ryan Reynolds actually got to go back and shoot himself in the head.
Yes,
so
he
that
did.
he didn't accept Green
He
Lantern.
did.
That was so funny.
Yes. He shot the old Deadpool. That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, the ending was great on 2.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Their writing team is fantastic.
I've heard that 3 is going to be nothing like 2 or 1, which is good because my problem with 1 was that the plot line was extremely predictable. You know.
Well, yeah, they had no money, so that's why he had to keep forgetting his weapons. Because they were like, "Oh shit, we can't do another CGI battle. We'll just, he forgot his weapons." That's how they got it. Which is smart. If you can't do something, it's so wonderful to write through it.
Oh yeah.
Like just as a side note, I watched Bodied recently. It's that movie Eminem produced in like 2016. And Kid Twist, I think, was the guy who did a lot of the lyrics for it. And there was another gentleman who actually wrote it. And there's a scene in the movie where this guy had punched somebody in the face earlier, forgetting his face during a battle rap, and his girlfriend's a porn star, and one of the other battle rappers has sex with her, and he walks in with an M16 or some sort of assault rifle, and all his friends come through, and the main character is like terrified, and then he goes, "All right, it's all cool. Like, we're gonna do this." He's like, "We're battle rappers. We're gonna settle this on the stage," and then I'm like, "What the fuck? He had sex with your girlfriend, and you said what?" And the main character's like, "Oh man, that's lame. You're really gonna do that?" And then he calls him out for it at the end, and I'm like, I don't know how to feel about that because like he obviously copped out with that line, but he was also probably poking fun because he had an insight. Obviously, we've never seen battle rappers.
Right,
Maybe
yeah.
he says it's like this tough guy act. So like it's just like this whole thing of turning this guy into like the main villain of the movie and still having that like what the hell kind of pushy shit is this?
Yeah.
I don't know. It was just interesting. So like, yeah, the kind of writing where it's like that full circle, and it's the same thing. Rewatch, you can reward through things you didn't catch the first time.
I really love it when a movie addresses the annotations that we have as
Yes.
the audience.
Yes.
You know what I mean? I cannot get enough of that, because either it's like exactly what you're thinking,
Mhm.
or it's fucking hilarious, or it is just like, or it provides context
Yep.
into the movie.
Yep.
You know?
Even if it doesn't affect the plot, it's wonderful to have like a one-off, like the fuck,
Yeah, right?
you know, or something like that.
Yeah. It's just like, cause like, oh my god, it just is. But let's see, what other movies really tickle my fancy? I gotta stop saying that.
Well, okay, so cartoons. Like, you got movie. What cartoons were just all you, dude? For me, Futurama, all the way.
Oh yeah.
Early Simpsons and Futurama, dude.
I never really got like I remember like when I was a kid, I would like, you know, like watch the I would wait for the Simpsons to come on. It would be on like right after school or something like that, maybe like 6 o'clock, 5 o'clock, something like that. So I like early Simpsons, not necessarily, but definitely like Simpsons back in the day. I feel like it got played out after a while. But the other thing that's cool about the Simpsons is that they predict the future.
There's a lot of that, yes.
Yeah. That's another thing that scares me about if we're going
the
back
Mandela
to
effect, man.
Oh my god.
Yep.
That
We could do a whole episode on that, man.
oh yeah. That's it's so strange to like understand and really like wrap your mind around the fact that we probably have that's probably true. We probably have undergone a paradigm shift, and there's probably more to come. You know, which is just like, I really hope it is in the favor of us at some point.
True.
Like,
yeah, no, you're right.
I hope that somebody like I mean, the way that the world is headed so far, it looks like it's like, you know, it looks like a toilet right now. So like, I'm hoping that somebody's just like, yep, let's just, you know, take like a tennis racket and just, you know, flick it back a little bit. Like, can we at least just serve it back?
Right.
Like, I don't know. But I mean, at least that's where I'm trying to go with it, with you know, my purpose and what I'm trying to do. But as far as cartoons go, yeah, Simpsons, South Park is another one.
Yes.
Just because South Park can do whatever they want at this point.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter.
You know, they hate their original stuff too.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they said it was like really crude.
Yeah.
Which is hilarious because I literally grew up watching VHSs of like the first 3 seasons.
Oh yeah.
And yeah, I mean, to the point where my mom bought me a hat that had Kenny like just pretty much disemboweled, as well as like almost decaying, and he's laying on his side, and she didn't know that it was like a dead child. She just thought it was some sort of design because it did look abstract, and I still have the hat. And I'll post it, dude. And she, for years, she's just like, yeah. And she would even like wear it. And she still has it, dude. And now I got it at my house, and I'm so happy because it's like it's such a nice hat. It's like it's a good fit, you know, like those hats you've had for 20 years or whatever. Yeah. But then I feel the same way, man. South Park was fantastic, man. I was so sad whenever the whole chef thing happened.
Oh yeah.
And they had, you know, it just feels like they've had to do so much as writers, you know, like just backlash and having to change things and having people sue you. It's just.
Have you ever seen 6 Days to Air?
Yeah, I have. That's whenever I found out that a lot of their writers, you know, were people that have done many other things. You know, I didn't know so many of them were famous. You know. Yeah,
I mean, like it is definitely it's so incredible, like the amount of talent that's on that writing staff.
The whole team.
Oh yeah.
To make a cartoon in 6 days.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think they only missed their air date once.
Yeah.
And it was something like power was out or something crazy they couldn't do.
Yeah. That's quite a streak.
And now they're doing like full on story arcs. Like beforehand they kind of did one-offs.
Oh yeah.
Where you did the traditional, you know, everyone's at home, same clothes are worn situations. But now, dude, they're doing stuff where previous seasons matter.
I also feel like the whole line of thought has become a lot more, like the whole social commentary has become a whole lot more deliberate.
Yeah.
Like with the whole PC principle thing.
Yeah.
Like that one's really funny. How do you feel about PC?
Being PC?
Not necessarily being PC, but the effect that PC has on our culture. Because the way that I see it is that it can go one of two ways.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It can be in the same regard that like take this for instance. When I was becoming a manager at Little Caesars, right? They said if you're if one employee says, "Oh, can I go take a smoke break?" and you say yeah, and then another employee comes up and it's like, "Yo, how come he gets to go out and take a smoke? Can I take a candy break? Can I sit in the back and eat a candy bar?" Then you have to say yeah, because by default it makes it fair. It's like that same kind of that kind of flip, that kind of twist, where it's like
equality.
It's equality. Yes, it's absolutely equality, but at the same time, it's like sometimes people take these things and use them to their advantage.
Right.
They try to twist it so that they can use it to get what they want. You know what I mean? In a very maniacal is the word that comes to mind, but there's how do you make that distinction? How do you
fairness is very ego driven.
Yeah.
I mean, unless you're really championing oh my goodness, rights for someone else, it's going to be you're out for your own interest. Now when it comes to being PC, there's either like you said, fairness, equality, but there's also the freedom of speech.
Yeah.
For me, I'm cool with equality, man, but I have been in so many different structures and corporations, and there's never fairness, man.
Oh, yeah.
You're always going to have
never.
somebody in power who's going to have the people they like and the people they don't. And I'll be honest, man, I've been on both sides of it, and, you bet your ass I'm going to use those times where it benefits me to benefit me.
Oh, yeah.
Why not, I mean, I don't think that makes people bad, but I definitely see that it can create a divide.
Well, I think that the importance of explanation
right intent
it's
intent.
Exactly.
Yeah,
it's you if you explain your intent and it makes sense to the rest of us. I mean, obviously all of the reality of reality is perception.
It really is.
If we all perceive it the same way, then that kind of means you're right.
Yes, all we are senses. Our brain has never seen daylight. It's never really done anything.
Yeah.
So all we have is our senses.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I mean, like,
that's your reality.
I mean, PC is good, but if you don't have like solid reasoning behind it, to where other people can look at you and be like, that makes sense, that's logical, and that's right, then you don't necessarily have where that drawback is where it's still just always going to be a gray area, because you can get people on board with your topic. If 1,000 people say that the sky is green, it doesn't make the sky green. It just makes 1,000 people idiots.
No, I get what you're saying. Ironically, that the movie Bodied actually dealt with being PC, and one of the characters' names like the racist, and he's just saying like terrible things about like Asian people and this and that and the other, and then he goes up against an African American guy and just starts saying all these terrible things, and he says something like, I can use the N-word because it's equality. I'm just fighting for equality. And like his friend, he's like, he's kind of right though, and they just, and like the main character's girlfriend is really like, she's PC as well, and she's like, well, you're using white privilege to appropriate this urban culture. How dare you take money out of Hispanic or a black man's mouth whenever you're just a white guy, this and the other, with an education. Yeah. And then he flips it on her. He realizes that a debate is also just a battle, and that she's using language. So he says something like, well, aren't you being a little colonialist? And she's like, what? So like, it's really interesting how he's able to flip these things, because that's all it is, dude. Like, words are just, like Joe says, words are just, trying to get an idea across. It's just ESP or something,
Right. Well, so, I mean, a word is nothing without the definition that it implies.
Exactly. And I think what you're getting at is that people are going to always use it's like being a lawyer. You're going to use the definition of something to get out of something else.
Oh yeah.
And I mean that's just the name of the game. How can you benefit
Right.
your team? And I mean I'll be honest, like sometimes you see people get out of stuff, whether it's in the military or wherever, and you're like, homie, I gotta give it to you. That was just a good angle, like I can't even be mad. Like you do you.
I've been there. I've seen a couple of people where I'm just like, the audience can't see it right now, but the face that I'm making is very like, I have nothing to say to that.
Yep.
Well, I mean, I have straight up arguments with not with myself, but with imaginary arguments that will never actually happen, or like I'll recall an argument that I lost or didn't have anything to say back to, and then I'll just I'll go back in and just be like win the argument in my head, so that and the whole premise is that hopefully it'll help me win arguments in the future.
Yep.
But
I gotcha.
That's never gonna happen.
That reminds me of George Costanza.
Yeah.
Where he's like, the jerks start calling and they're running out of you. Or they're all out of you. He's like, well, that's fine because you're the number one bestseller.
Yeah.
Yeah, I see what you're saying, man. Someone's always going to have that one up.
Yeah.
If you're trying to think too deep into it.
Right.
I don't know, man. Spontaneity, spontaneousness.
Spontaneity.
Ooh. Hey, man, I may be a journalism major, but English is definitely my second language. Not really. I'm just terrible at it.
It's my second language. What's your first? Gibberish?
Gibberish, bro. The spoken word.
Oh my god. So, how do you feel about it's what I've noticed since I've been in Austin is that it's not necessarily hard to find somebody that does something musically, or does something media related, but somebody who's serious about it. What would you say about the the media dream stigma?
Yeah.
What's your perception on that?
I feel like a lot of people in Austin are creative, whether it's content creation or musically. I mean, that's just what Austin is. I mean, we were musicians down on our luck, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then we just kind of became the Silicon Hills, technology just kind of exploded. So, I mean, I get what you're coming from, or I get where you're coming from. I had plenty of friends in high school that were, rappers and musicians, and they don't do it anymore. Right. I don't know, man. I feel like with anything, it's just about getting that feedback. And it's really hard for people to continue if the feedback isn't exactly what they want.
Well, see, I feel like that's exactly what's going to weed out, the people who aren't truly about it. Because you're in my experience, you're never going to get the feedback that you want. I've shown people deliberately bad shit just to see if they would be honest with me. And the fact of the matter is just that, most people will not. Some people will be like, a little pitchy there. Other people will be like, oh, it's good. Yeah, it's great. And then, you can always tell by the vibe. You can always tell if, because there's a lot of times where you water your own ears down. You dilute yourself from your perception of whether something sounds okay or not, and so it's like it's iffy when you're doing it, and you're just like, I can't tell if this sounds like how I want it to sound, so you go to another person and you're like, how does this sound? I don't base my feedback on what people say or the content of what they say. I base it off of their body language, off of if this one song is if I go and play an open mic just to test a song out, just to see if it works, if people like it, and I see the crowd kind of moves away, or nobody's really paying attention, if it was good, they would pay attention. You know,
right?
that's what sets things apart. If it and at the end of the day, if you have to question it, the answer is no.
Hmm.
You know, if you question somebody's response, the answer is no. If you're not entirely sure if somebody if they're not running up to you like, oh my god, that was amazing, that like if they're not like, you know, pardon my French, riding your dick, you know what I mean, like they're, you know, that chances are they probably, you know, they probably just didn't want to be rude to you. And I mean, while that's okay, I can understand where that would be confusing for some people who just don't get it, or who are really trying to, like, if you're just starting out, you're just like, I think this slaps. Does this slap? And I'd say that the answer, if you really want to find it out for yourself, without, you know, without going to anybody else and, you know, diminishing your own reputation with that, is to probably just wait like maybe like a week or two and just like not listen to that piece at all. You know, giving your ears a break is probably the most important thing that you can do for yourself as an artist.
Gotcha. Because then you get confirmation bias in your own ear.
Exactly.
You're like, that was what I was going for, and yeah, I got you. Okay. Yeah. I've done that with my writing. I've gone back, read like a short story, and I'm like, the fuck was I trying to say?
But one of the other points that I wanted to bring up was in terms of like the whole like media dream stigma, is just that like it doesn't matter what I'm going to say in this podcast. It doesn't matter what anybody else is going to say in any podcast. You know, you can watch Joe Rogan, you can watch The Art of Man, you can watch, you know, any other podcast and, you know, find like similar answers. And it's always going to come back to one thing. If you're really about something, then you'll truly be about it. If you're not, then you won't be. And I think the thing that's hardest for a lot of people is they don't know where they fit in to you know, to all these different things, or it's just a matter of not thinking about it and being in your head so much as just doing it.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
It has a lot to do with just, you know, having an idea in your head and just trying to, you know, not even worrying about like what other people are going to think of it. Not worrying about, you know, like, is this girl gonna like it? Is that guy gonna like it? And you know, is this gonna get me somewhere? And instead, just trying to focus on the artistic integrity of the image that's in your head, or the sound that's in your head, and just trying to go after that and create that with the most crystal clear picture that you can. You know, It all depends on what the idea is and the thought that's behind it. And if you can, it's the same idea as an artist drawing a picture. Mm-hmm. You know, they visualize something in their head. They know what it wants to look like. But I personally, as a self-acclaimed awful artist, like visual artist, like I cannot, whatever image is in my head, as, you know, visually, I cannot make it like look the same on a sheet of paper. I can do something. I can get the idea across.
No, I feel you, dude.
But I like
the removing layers of clay to reveal the face. I don't understand.
I have no idea. Like, you see some people that are just so like intense with their shadowing, and it's like 3-dimensional perspectives, and it's so amazing to me. But I just like, I can do that. I feel like I can do that sonically. I cannot do that visually.
John Romita, one of the guys who started really drawing Spider-Man and just really awesome stuff. His son actually does it now, John Romita Jr., but John Romita Sr. Actually drew and would tell his son, whenever you're drawing anything, you are just removing, you know, what's not Spider-Man. Like, you're covering up what's not him, and then, you know, it's like the white is the rest of it, and it's just like, what? Yeah, it's just like, and it's cool that he does it now too. And yeah, man, I know what you're saying. Yeah, I just doodle, man. I don't understand how people can just pull something out of their head and just stick it in 2-dimensional form, you know?
Oh yeah.
Like, it's an awesome talent.
It is absolutely 100%. It takes a lot of time. I mean, like, the guy that did, I have a Misfits tattoo on my right arm.
Oh yeah.
I got it my first night in Austin. This is actually a fun story. So I took a train here It was a 27-hour train ride.
Jeez.
Do not ever do that to yourself. I'm gonna say that again. Don't ever do that to yourself. But I got off the train and I'm exhausted. You know, I finally ended up getting back to the apartment that I had set up for myself, and I had to take a break. I had to like let down all my stuff. I didn't even unpack anything. I was just like, let me just go hit. I know it's a Monday night, but let me go like find a show or something. And there were people were playing shows. It's Austin. There's always something happening. But on this particular October 1st, it was not looking all that great. It was kind of cold for Austin, and I'm walking up and down 6th Street, and I'm like, dude, I have no fucking clue what to do. My phone's dead. And like I had asked somebody for the time, just because like I was just like, hey, my phone's dead. Could you tell me what time it is? And she's
What, you sound like a British orphan. My phone's dead. Could you tell me what time it is?
Sir, I would like some more.
More? You what?
No, she just looks up at me, and that was it. She just stared me down.
No acknowledgement.
No acknowledgement. No. There was an acknowledgement. There was a stare down that ensued.
She didn't give a fuck what you're about.
She was just like, stay away from me. And I'm like, oof. I was just like, I backed away very timidly. Yeah. I was like, I'm so sorry. Please don't hate me. But anyway, I look to my left, and then there's this tattoo shop.
What's it called?
Blindside Tattoo.
Okay.
Yeah.
Where?
It's on 6th Street.
Oh,
it's
okay.
Let's see. I'm not even gonna pretend to know what block it's on, but yeah, it's on 6th Street. It's called Blindside Tattoo. It's basically like there's a t-shirt shop right next to it, and then you just there's like a door right next to the t-shirt shop, and you just go upstairs. It's real nice. Okay. Real. The place has poise. I will say it has poise. But anyway, the tattoo artist was the only guy who was nice to me, and I was like, you know what, man, I got $100. What do you give me for $100? He's like, I can do something about yay big, and I'm like, I want a Misfits tattoo that big, so I got the Crimson Skull, Ben, the tattoo artist, which was what I was trying to get to before I like spaced. He is one of the most impeccable artists that I've ever seen. He's got this this canvas in his living room. I think he actually went to like travel the world right now. I have no idea where he's at right now, but he has this canvas of this and it's just like the most immaculate portrait. It looks like a photograph, and it's just like the dimensions are perfect, and it's just like you walk into his living room, it's like, you did that? Like, I know you do this for a living, but you did that? Damn.
Wow.
Yeah. So I mean, some of the raw talent that I've seen people possess is just like, I'm beside myself.
Yeah.
You know? But
we've definitely filled a good hour and some change here. Right. We can always come back and do a part 2, but if anybody has any questions for you or wants to find your work, where can they find you? You can plug anything here.
He said insert plug here.
There you go.
Well, you can find me on Spotify as Punk Bordello. That's PUNKBORDELLO, and I'm on Facebook under the same name. And I will I am currently building a website right now, but I'm waiting until we have fully finished all of the all the videos that we're working on. To actually post that. But I mean, I have the domain name. You can go to punkbordello.com. I can't guarantee you it's gonna look like anything, but it is there. It does exist. But yeah, as far as the music goes, Facebook, Spotify, SoundCloud, Bandcamp.
Bandcamp, gotcha.
Yeah, PUNKBORDELLO.
All right. And for us, as you know, this is the Weird Austin podcast. You can go to www.dogdogproductions.com. The SoundCloud is /dogdog, DOGDOG, as well as the Patreon, patreon.com/dogdog, if you want to support the show. Well, thanks again, man. Appreciate talking to you, and we'd love to see the project, and I'm sure the audience is going to be diving in deep to the things that you've already created, and look forward to what's coming out.
I hope so, man. I hope, if there's one last thing that I could say, is just that if my music helps even just a single person, or just, or it just appeals to a single person, and it's playing during a significant, time, or that it's all worth it for that, It's all worth it for, even if it's just a single person. But I hope it's way more than that.
Right. All right. Well, thanks again for coming today, and we appreciate the audience for stopping back. We'll see you on the next one.